Everybody, welcome back to another edition of the show. It is December 22nd, 2020. Yesterday was the shortest day of the year. Forgot to say it that at the beginning of yesterday's show. Got David Bray with me as always, and man, a fun guest today. I would think, David. This guy's usually a ball of joy.
Oh yeah, man. Royce Alger is he's nothing but fun. But hey, I got a question for you, Bader. You got a different background today. Look at this. What do you got? What do you got going on back here?
What? This is my kitchen.
I like it. It's a great kitchen. New
Thanks.
Kitchen, right?
Yeah. New house. Yeah, back in August. But thanks for asking.
Yeah.
It's closet. Where are you at?
I'm in the closet. I'm back in the closet. I got my trusty wrestling mat behind me. Oh, Tyler, I sent Tyler a photo of my makeshift studio. Here we go, right here in the closet.
Oh,
and,
you kind of ruined it.
So
it looks much better.
I'm all
like
set
this.
up. It looks great. It looks great here. But anyway, so yeah, I'm super excited, man. Royce always has great stories, so let's get it going.
Yeah, and let's bring him on, Royce Alger, and he's just let's get some updates real quick off of knee surgery, but not double knee surgery, but you just had the one last week and the one before that. When?
Let me situate my phone, get it right here. I had knee surgery on the 3 months ago on the 3rd, and then 3 months later I've had this. So I've had both knees taken out in just under 3 months. So
what? What's life like? Can you walk or what?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've been in some pretty tough situations before physically, and of course I was married back in the 90s. So I know how to get through some pain, but no doubt, there's not even, you can't tie your shoes, you can't put your socks on, you can't even squat down on the toilet. You got to get one of those plastic things that elevate you a little bit. I mean, you have to go out and buy new stuff for your house for a while. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I had a great talk. Dwayne Goldman called me. That's a shot from the past, 4-timer, and we talked about knees. He was always bow-legged, and I felt a little bit better
Yeah.
after talking to him because he got his knees drained like 3 times and almost had to go in for another surgery and sepsis and all that stuff. But no, knee surgery, if you're going to do it sooner. Don't wait until wrestlers have a proclivity to go wait too long. And then you got all kinds of bone need to be shaved and stuff. So if you think you're going down, get it done early so you don't. It's not a massive deal. But no, I'm getting along, but it's a scrap.
Would you say wrestling has prepared you to deal with something like this?
Oh yeah. I was just telling somebody the other
Softball.
day. I said that's probably what got me. The paradox is, or the irony is that probably what got me into the position where I can barely walk was wrestling, no doubt. But we're always, if you remember me the last 6-7 years, even when I was taking teams over to Europe and you'd see me at the US Open, I'd always be carrying a chair around, something to sit on, little hunting chair.
Yeah.
We wait till the end. We think maybe somehow it's going to work its way out. Back at Iowa, it was never, I'll get him into the doctor. Like, put some ice on it. When can we get him on the mat again? It was never a medicinal thing. But Goldman and I had a long talk about the reason why probably people get into trouble with their knees and stuff. A lot of people get their knees replaced all the time, but their knees weren't that bad. They were just a little bad. But us wrestlers will stay. We'll Jay Robinson it. We'll stay in the saddle. Do you remember Jay Robinson? That's the quintessential
Of course.
wrestler I think of with the knees. I mean, he had. I have a great Gable story about one time. Gable in '97, Gable was getting his hips were gone out, and this one was happening in the middle of the season because I need to get it done. So we were getting ready to go to the Big Ten, and God, I want to say it was up in Minneapolis, but I don't know. But 97, you could probably look that up. But we were
I
going
think it
to the
was.
Big Tens. What's that?
I
Was
think
it
it was.
okay? And Gable had his hip replaced and a bunch of other stuff done to it. And they had me rooming with him. Of course, he always liked the room. If we were tight, I always roomed with Gable. It's like he'd tell people he never had to turn the TV on. He had Royce in there because I just keep talking. But I remember I'd have to carry him. I basically had to carry him up to the room almost and help him with his clothes and stuff. And I come from a big family. I'm used to that stuff. I slept with my brother my whole life, and we still do occasionally. But um, I basically carried him out, put him on the bus, and we came in. But when we got to the venue, he was walking alone and had one crutch. Didn't even have two. Everybody's going, "How you doing, Gable? Great, great, great. How you doing? Great." And finally, we got to a place where I had to go in the bathroom with him or something. I said, "Gable, what the heck are you doing? Telling everybody you're great. You can't even walk." He grabbed me, grabbed my wrist. I'll never forget it. He said, "Hey, if I have a bad day, what chance do these guys have?" And so he was like, because even anybody in the public, anybody, didn't have to be wrestlers. So everybody asked him how he was doing. He said, "Fine." And he also didn't want to let people know that maybe he was down or not on his game. I watched him throw his crutch that tournament across the mat. He didn't hit anybody, but I said, "Yeah, well, you can't be throwing crutches. So what are they going to do? Throw crutches out of here?"
That's great.
And
Royce,
yeah,
there's a story. There's a story I think in one of Gable's books about him like coaching. Maybe it was that surgery or maybe it was a different one, but he was coaching like from the hospital bed. I don't know if he was like calling in on the phone to coach practice or if he was like running the practice pen. Were you around for that? And what was that like?
100%. Gable, when Gable was down for his surgeries on his hips and stuff, he would have the trainer tape the whole practice so he could watch him at night. And Gable he was very accountable. I have to because I won't be able to get back to it. But Gable was in a hospital bed, and Gable's famous in Iowa. We love him he's our guy. He's famous anywhere, but he's accessible in Iowa. But Gable had been taping the practices and stuff, and they would shut him off in between goes. So one time they shut the phone, the camera off. Brett Mangle shut it off. He went in the back room, and I turned it on, and I went out in front of the mat in the round circle in the front of in the wrestling room, and I did this was like 45 minutes in. I did a little line dance kind of thing, and I took my pants all the way off, my shorts all the way off, and then I took my briefs all the way off down to just one leg, and I mooned him for about 45 to 60 seconds. I was cramping. Well, listen to this. So, and then I went back and turned the thing up. I turned it off, so no one knew, really, other than the people that were laughing. I just said, "Don't." So Gable said about 3 days later, Gable's up there, and the CEO of the hospital and everybody they would get people up every day to see Dan Gable and meet him, and he'd be watching practice. And they came in one time, and there was like 15 of them, and they're all looking and goes, "Yeah, you have the practice tape and this and that." And Gable was telling me the story, and he said he was watching, and just when they asked, he turned it on, and we were watching, and I came out, and they go, "What are these doing?" He goes, "Oh, that's Royce. He's probably gonna tell a joke or something." And he said just then he fell, and the recorder fell like in the nap of the bed, and I just started taking my stuff off and mooning, and Gable was like trying to
do something.
He said it was unbelievable. And why did you have to hold it so long? And people were like trying to look away. And that, I swear to God, you got to ask Gable next time you get him on. He will not forgive that moon, because it was at least 45 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
And every dignitary in the hospital probably saw it.
I'm sure that's at the top of my list of things to ask him next time. I'm sure he's
no, he'll
dying
remember
to.
it. We talk about.
I'm sure he's dying to relive that memory. Oh man, that's mean.
That was 97. That was just.
Now I have the image burned into my head, and that's just terrible.
Oh God, that was in there for a while too.
Oh, okay.
Cramping in your legs.
Well, I would have some questions here about something else, I'm sure. as much as I like talking about all that, I did have some things I wanted to kind of talk about. Like, you grew up in Iowa, and when you were in high school, Gable was coaching, and they were kicking ass. When you were like 10 or before Gable got to Iowa, if that, I think that would be your age, something like that. What was Iowa wrestling like? Was it a big thing? Was it kind of whatever? Was it, as far as success and just how much
it wasn't.
It meant to the university and the state?
Well, you got to remember, you're talking to a kid who didn't really know about the world outside. I lived on a little. You've been to my farm. That's where my life was, between there and the 5.6 miles of gravel into town. And about once a month, once we did. I remember coverage on him. I still remember the Big Peach when he got beat. The Big Peach is the front of the Des Moines Register sports page. But Iowa just became a juggernaut once he came there, and that was 75. I think we started our run close to Probably took. I think we won it. Then we took second, and then 90. And we won it in 75 maybe, and then took second in 76, and then 77 on. We just ran with it. We had 9 in a row.
Yeah,
But
that was
we weren't an unbelievable power. Our football team wasn't really that big of a deal. The football team wasn't, and that gives you notoriety and whatnot too. But we didn't have anything going until once Gable came. Though I still can't believe that Iowa State let Sanderson go. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they didn't. But you think about those guys up there. Little old Iowa State let 2 juggernauts like that go. That's unbelievable. But no, I was. You saw the short drive I lived from Iowa City.
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes, and as the crow flies, even shorter.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But so
Hey, when Dan Coach Gable started coaching, did you think what was going to happen? What happened was going to happen? Did you think I was going to get really good? And maybe it's almost impossible to foresee what he did. But did you think like he was going to have a big impact?
oh yeah, you just knew it. He was the biggest name. He was the biggest. He was bigger than the governor. And like you said, I wasn't like these new kids. Like this that question would be more apropos to a young 10, 11-year-old stud these days than it would be to a farm kid who was worried about, a couple heifers he had to get to the show barn, in the next 6 months or something. But so my mind really wasn't on sports as much, but when I was younger, it was more on basically survival and making some money and getting a car or something. We have we have a whole new wave of people now, and I don't know if it's to our detriment or not, but I'll talk freely. I think young kids today, they got too much time, they got too much money. Being poor might help you a little bit. Get you more dialed in. I remember John Smith said, remember when he won, like, I don't know what national world title it was. He goes, you know what? I really don't like all that money. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you don't wrestle good with a lot of money. You wrestle better when things are tight and you got to win this tournament and this and that. Because I kind of wish they didn't have incentives, because we were the first kind of crop of people where they gave money to. And he said he had a problem with it a little bit. But not to deviate, the original question was, did I know Gable was going to have it going on? Of course. Anything he touched, especially in the state of Iowa. And you know where it really landed for me was Dan Gable's national champ was Brad Smith. And I got him when I was 13 years of age.
Yeah, he was your coach, right?
So that's an Iowa Hawkeye guy. I could never afford to go to any Hawkeye camps or do anything like that. But once Brad Smith came into our room, we could come up anytime and watch practices and do in whatnot. So
Man,
I have some really unbelievable memories of going in there when I was young.
What an unbelievable resource as a kid. I mean, what were your takeaways from being a young kid and going in that room and watching practice?
Well, I didn't go in there until my 7th grade year. So that's a young kid. How old are you in 7th grade? Like 12 or 13?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 13.
Okay, 13 or 14, 12, 13, 14. So the schmakeaway, shit, my workout partner in the room was Brad Smith, 23-year-old national champ of the University of Iowa. I was trying to fight for my life.
Yeah.
And I fought him all the way through my senior year in high school. I have a great story. One time, Brad Smith, we went down to the Oklahoma Open, and I remember I got concussed the second match, so I had to pull out of the tournament. So I cornered Well, Brad, my high school coach, wrestled in it, and he decided to wrestle in it, and he got Andre Metzger in the finals, and I was cornering, and Andre Metzger, who actually just stayed at my house about um, 4 months ago. He stayed over. Randy Lewis was living with me, and I heard somebody's voice talking, and it was Randy Lewis and Andre Metzger talking loud about wrestling. And I got up. I said, Andre Metzger, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm just coming through town. I said, can I get you a bottle of water or anything? He goes, yeah, I'll take any milk, and I'd like a sandwich. Two of them if you got them. So I got up and made him 2 sandwiches. Only a wrestler. I said that to give you like just what do you need, some water? I like a couple sandwiches.
Some milk.
Got them and some milk. Well, anyway, Brad Smith had to wrestle Andre Metzger, and I'll never forget this. I was in the corner, and Andre Metzger, if you never watched any of these matches, very physical to the point of great hand fighter. I mean, you're going to get bloody if you want to beat Andre Metzger.
Yeah.
And he slammed Brad. I call him Biff. Brad Smith. He slammed on the edge of the mat, and he came over to the wrong corner to blow his nose, and he clogged his nose up. Let me see if I get it. And he blew it, and it missed our garbage can, and it went all over my leg and on my new shoes. I just got new. We were detasseling that year, and I had new shoes. Like, you mother. And I said, if I in my mind, I said, if I ever got a chance, I was going to kick his ass. And lo and behold, I wrestled him in the Midlands about 15 years later. No, 10 years later. I beat him in the Midlands 10 years later in the finals. Andre Metzger. But that was Brad Smith, though. Can you imagine having your wrestling coach beating, wrestling Midland in the winter? He would go off and wrestle the Midland.
That'd be insane. No, my high school coach definitely couldn't do
No,
that.
he's eating donuts and having coffee. So I had a double struck of Iowa. My coach was a Division I national champ, legit.
Yeah.
And just an All-American, a national champ, and then Gable right down the road. So I've been invested in Hawkeyes for a long time.
Sure. So I told you about this documentary that we're going to be airing on December 30th. I got a clip from it that I want to play for you, and I just kind of want to get your take on it. So if we can get that clip over and queued up, ready to play.
Roll the clip.
Roll the clip.
I came to work almost every day, and I'd pull out my drawer, and I could pull out a bottle of champagne and pour the champagne to celebrate. Why? Because you win 4, you win 5, you win 6, you win 7, you win 8, you win 9 national championships.
Bro.
Here we got reporters from Inside Sport and Sports Illustrated following our team around. Wherever we went, they were there. We go to a party, they're there. We go downtown, they're there. Sometimes you don't want to go to the restroom, you're afraid they were there.
Fantastic.
Does that make you think?
Oh, I remember that big old guy they sent down from Inside Sports. He didn't know what he was getting into. He was following. He said, "Well, I followed the Hells Angels, and I followed this, and blah blah blah." And he would go out and run with us at night, and then we'd go back and have a little bit of soiree back at the apartment. Guys would really he'd be on his stomach at 4 a.m. We'd be bouncing a basketball off the back of his head. That's what I think of when I'm inside sports. But I tell you what, Dick Vitale came into our room too. I mean, I personally answered the phone when Tom Cruise called in the summer one time. I mean, we were like, it was almost like it was a first time for everybody, for in the country. We had some little team going for 10 straight. And of course, Kathy Gable wanted to go up there and make sure we put the Signal 10 on all of our singlets, which is the death of all of us. You remember that? And remember
Of
the
course, I
10
remember
signet?
that. For
So
1987.
what was it like? It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable to be on that run. And it was unbelievable before that when I first came there. I mean, just being on 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, when I came in there, 6, 7, 8, 9. Going for 10. I mean, just an unbelievable time where you could do no wrong. And I really do think back then, I don't think many people were doing what we were doing. They weren't doing. I mean, we didn't. I didn't even negotiate my years by seasons. It wasn't like, okay, wrestling's over. It was never over. Not back then. I don't think until people caught on that you could wrestle year round until they start trying to catch us. Now, you know what doesn't get mentioned enough? We won the Big Ten's 25 years in a row.
That's crazy.
Unreal. Didn't Gable coach for 25 years? Is that right? Did he win every single year?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's not. Yeah, because we have won 20. No, when Jimmy took it later, we won the Big Ten's 25 years in a row. And Gable's got to be like 22 of that.
Something like that. Yeah.
When we went on our national run, what people don't realize too is that in the 90s we won 9 out of 10. We won 90, 91, 92, 93. But Gable left in 97. Jimmy won it 3 more years. We lost one time in the 90s for Nationals.
And once in the 80s, right? No. I guess 87,
no.
maybe 88, 89.
Yeah, we didn't win it in 87, 88, 89.
Yeah.
So my point here is Gable left. I mean, Gable left the barn pretty full too with the studs that he did. And nothing against Jimmy, but I mean, Gable was not one of those coaches that sucked up the talent and left. He kind of created the talent anyway. To be honest with you, I always said that Gable brought his own weather.
What does that mean?
Well, when you bring your own weather, that's one of my favorite sayings. But when you bring your own weather, it don't matter what you got, where you're going into. Like, let's say you're going to go. I always tell people, if you're going to go on a boat, you ever been on a big boat, like a cruise line?
Sure.
If you go on a big cruise line and you're there for a week, you better bring some people that got something, that brings something to the game. You better bring your own weather. Because you're going to have to, there are going to be 5 or 6 of you, kind of like that time in Budapest. Remember the time when we created that tournament, or when they were trying to take me down, or I was battling.
You created your own
You
weather.
bring your own weather.
For sure.
That was a bunch of Americans that brought their own weather. You stick us in the dingiest, darkest recesses of a Budapest basement hotel, and we're going to bring our own weather, and we're going to have fun regardless. That's what bringing your own weather is.
Royce, do you have an example of a time when Gable did that? And do you have any idea of how he was able to do that?
Oh, every day. He'll change the climate of that room. He wasn't allowed to be. Here's another thing. Gable never came in the mornings and worked with a bunch of people and got things going in the mornings. He was only allowed to be in there from 3 to about 7, because the climate that he provided or created was so great, you couldn't have it in the morning. I just said witching hour was from like 3 to 6. And there literally guys that come into our rooms that from other places, like over winter, Christmas break or something, they'd be very cavalier. I'm like, that some bitch ain't gonna make it through this workout. Gable's gonna turn the weather up, and that guy's gonna be in a workout that he had no idea existed. And that's what I say about Gable. Well, even with Bader and I over at his house, shit, it was just us four, and before you know it, Gable's screaming at me when I'm doing tricep pushdowns. Or you go in the sauna and he's screaming at the Russians. That is no play. We didn't choreograph anything. That guy's been crazy from day one like that. You got nothing on me, Russians. Who does that? Dan Gable does that.
He's got this like ability to like crank it up real fast, but not for very long, but just enough to get his point across, and then kind of level back into whatever, and then keep going. But it's like, whoa, got my attention, the hair on my back, my neck's up, my heart just spiked.
Crazy town,
right? Like crazy town. It's it's
and that's what he does, but his greatest attribute was being able to read and foster all different dichotomies of personality, different people that thought different things and from different areas. And you got Penrith out in New York, and you got Rico Chiapparelli in Baltimore, but innately we're all wrestlers. But Gable's greatest, he would know what a guy needed. I mean, I literally, and I'll talk freely now since now he's gone, and I think I'm off probation, but there was times where he would tell me, like, I don't want to see you in the room for 2 days. Like, I remember when I first won the Midlands, he gave me 2 days off in front of the team. And he basically said, you need to go out and have some cold beer and let your hair down, or, because he knew I was speaking and bringing you back down. Some other people would kick out of the room that were maybe getting a little bit too frustrated or too wore. You know how people get too wore out.
Yeah,
You kick them out of the room.
totally.
Yeah, so that's his greatest thing, and his energy. And I call them needle movers. I told my son when he went off to Nashville, I said, well, you're going to do well because you're a needle mover. He said, Dad, what does that mean? I said, it means when you walk in a room, you can change things. You can move the needle, no matter what it is, and get it moving. And that's what Gable is. He's the best at it, from 0 to 180. Now, the brands are fantastic as well. I mean, they're good needle movers. And, as you get better in your coaching, you get more, you just get smarter, and you learn more things. And, I personally think when Gable left, that was 49 years of age. Remember when we asked him, and you go, well, why'd you leave at 49? Because I didn't know if I was going to be around anymore. You thought, well, what do you mean? Not around the area, or your daughter? What do you mean? Your family moving away? No, alive. You remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're out. Yeah, we're at his house.
Snowed in with Gable.
Yeah, that somewhere
was
between jumping in the snow, yelling at the Russians, and barking at you in the weight room.
You know what? One of my great stories, and I'll tell you here, and I don't know if I imparted it on that night, but one time I was in London with Gable, and Morningstar was with me, and he was getting one of those ubiquitous medals you get for being in the Olympic Hall of Fame, something like that. Anyhow, that was in London. You remember he got like some kind of medal, the Olympic Hall of Fame or something.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Well, and I ordered some screwdrivers in the morning, so we had a couple. And yeah, I was had to work him a little bit. And so, Gable, why did you really get out at 49? That's just too damn young. He took a big draw and he said, well, I had an athlete come in with his father and tell me what they were going to do. That's what I said. The athlete now has got money, which I never have. The brands never have, at least for the people I know. They didn't have money. They didn't have, and their parents were certainly working too damn hard in the factory or the farm to be worried about their son. But this new parent's got all the time in the world. And I've never been in a tournament outside of my state in my life. I couldn't even freestyle until my senior year in high school. I showed up at the junior nationals, and Rob Cole thought he was going to have a picnic until I went over and bent him over, pinned him, and I give him some shit every now and then. But they just go, who the hell is this art? Some guy just dropped this farm kid off with a farm truck. He's got hydraulic fluid on his hands, and he's pinning his way through the junior nationals. I'm having fun, but my point being all of that is that back to Gable, 49. Why did he leave? That if anybody wants to know that, and certainly he was going so hard and putting so much pressure on himself, but I'll never forget that conversation. He said and I'm not going to mention the athlete or anything, but he had an athlete come in with his dad and say, hey, now what we've decided over Christmas break is that we're not going to make weight for the Midlands, but we're gonna this next duel, we'll make that one. Maybe not the first duel, but the second. When he heard that dialogue, he said he took some notes, put them in the side of his gym bag that he carried around, and he said he was going to leave within a year. Now remember, he left within a year. He said he was going to do it, and the next year he left. 1997. Yeah. That's crazy, isn't it?
So, Royce, you started coaching, or you started wrestling at Iowa, right? In '84, I'm guessing, something around there, about 3 or 4. Yeah,
83.
So you were with him from '83 to '97. And from your perspective, it's going to be different because you went from athlete to coach, with him. But did you see him change and grow as a coach, or looking back, can you see that at all? Because as amazing as he was, he was always developing himself.
Yeah, no.
Coach.
And I saw him. You got to remember, I got him in '83. So he won the Olympics in '72. So I think I got him at 34 years of age. That's young. And he's still kicking people's asses at that age. I mean, I got 3 years of hard. I mean, think about that. You look at Sanderson sometime when Sanderson's still young. He's still wrestling. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Those guys are still kicking. I can guarantee you, I watched him in 2012. I mean, he did everything he wanted with Varner. He swatted those guys around. But I got through. So there's a dichotomy of years when Gable was still training. It was still like we were, he was young and he just provided a room. That's what he did. He provided a room and gave it great energy and put a bunch of, then just stirred it up every day. And he brought his own weather, and it was raining. It was storming. Some days though, he'd surprise you. I watched him get a little more lax when we got, when we had a team ready to go. He always tells the story. One time, Ironside said to him, he goes, "What are you doing? You're trying to kill us. We got Big Tens." He said that, he goes, "That was the first time I really looked at it going, if he hadn't said that to me, I might have picked it up a notch." He goes, "You learn every year." So Gable learned every year, and that damn bar was set so high. I mean, I imagine Sanderson, Sanderson's done a great job in this and that, but It just doesn't. It doesn't seem like the same Nirvana that Gable created. You know what I'm saying? It is and it isn't. I mean, how many of Penn State won in a row? I'm not really even trying to compare.
8 out of 9.
They've won 8 out of 9.
Yep.
So they're doing what we did in the 90s too. They just haven't done it in a
I
row.
believe that's right.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
care
they
what
went.
you.
Yeah, they went 4 in a row, and then they were 6th, and then 4 in a row.
Wow, good for him. Yeah, that's an environment. And the thing is, you get that kind of tutelage and knowledge, and then you throw away raw ass talent in a room with guys that are used to being the man. I mean, here's one way I'll always remember when I came to Iowa, because Chris Campbell was training for the '84 Olympics. My first threesome. Tell me how much tougher you think a guy would get than your first threesome being Chris Campbell and Lee Kemp. Those were my first 2 guys I put my hands on in that room, the new Carver room. I'll never forget it. I said, this can't be like this. So even your bad days, but we all got those stories, and those are a rite of passage. But I'm 100% is Sanderson experienced a little bit of what Gable did, of course, as far as he had a great career, great wrestler, won the Olympic gold, won the won 4 titles, won everything, and he's created a room down there that a lot of great athletes want to come in and wrestle. And then, he's a good coach on top of that because he's got a lot of experience. And he's, a good wrestler himself. So he's going to be there for a while until, I'm always a Hawkeye at heart. And I try to be even kilter, I felt kind of bad last year because I probably, everybody could probably, if they asked him $1,000 if they wrestled that tournament last year, who would have won it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody's got their, and I don't want to be one of them guys. I don't want to be alienated from any room, but I'll be excited. I want to ask a question. When do you think you guys are more on the hub? I'm here in rural Iowa, trying to keep cows out of the yard. When will wrestling? Two things.
They're having a damn
from your perspective. What?
Go ahead.
What about the World Championships? Should we have fielded a team or let it go redown to the athlete themselves? If one didn't want it, 2 and 3.
I mean, I would be all for it. I don't know that USA Wrestling is in the position to say whoever can go. I think they have to say we're in or we're out. I think,
Right. We had to go as a unit. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said we have to go as a unit. All right.
I mean, I even think, we talked to Bajrang this weekend from India, and he said he chose to come to our 8-man tournament because he felt like he could get better training and even better competition just spending a month or 2 in the U.S. than he would have if he would have gone to that event. And I think it was just so hard to know what that event was even going to look like that, I think, it was hard to tell.
So the unknowns are unbelievable, especially in Europe. I don't know, a lot of people watching this show don't ever think that anything's going to be easy when you're in Europe or Russia, like weight cutting they change on a dime, don't they?
Yeah.
All right, that was that was just my question. I just wanted to get. I know I hadn't talked to Bader about that, so it was just had to be a USA Wrestling deal.
I believe that's the case. Hey, this has been awesome, but I maybe want to change the subject for one last thing here. You may have heard that this guy named Jordan Burroughs is wrestling this other guy named David Taylor. Did you hear anything about that? You ever heard of those guys?
Oh, yeah. When is that?
January 9th.
January 9th. Where at? You going to do it down in Texas?
Down in Texas, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be recovered yet. But we are going to stream it live on this website, so you can watch it. What do you think about this match, though? Is it crazy? Is it going to be competitive? Can Jordan win?
Well, can Jordan win? Wow. Well, the first thing I look at is history between the two, and I think Jordan's probably like 4-0 against Taylor. 3-0.
I think that's
I think it's going to be
I
an
think
unbelievable.
4.
Okay, but that doesn't really matter with the given the
Maybe 5.
Okay, I personally think that that's a great matchup. If you remember a couple times when they wrestled, Taylor he slapped some things on Burroughs, like a cradle or some rolling around
Yeah,
positions.
cradle.
Oh,
Jordan
it's gonna
attacked his
be
left leg.
great. And I want to say this too, and for everybody out there, I have an unbelievable amount of respect for Burroughs, and I know he ain't used to trash talking. I know the other two can be a little bit, Dake can certainly voice his opinion and this and that, but Jordan Burroughs carried this country when we had no one carrying this country. Jordan Burroughs put this country on our back and gave us something to cheer about in wrestling. Even was it in Moscow when we got rolled up?
Next
What
year,
was that?
yeah.
2000?
10, we got rolled up in Moscow. Yep.
Rolled up
2010.
bad. And he's been like our knight. And I know this has been hard for him to go from that role to now being attacked a little bit and have people saying, well, we got, it's competitive. The sport's competitive. And me, of all people, I know how this feels. There's nobody that feels like it more than a person that's been one of the best in the world and got world medals and have to worry about making a world team.
Sure.
I wrestled Kevin Jackson, who I'd beat 5 times in a row. I beat him to make my first world team. Well, I had to go beat him to make an Olympic team. It is competitive. I think it's going to be a great match, and it's sincere. Both those guys, they're not mailing it in. They're talking a little more shit than I thought they would, and kind of like it. Kind of like something I would have been good at that. Kind of
If only they had Twitter back in your day.
Well, I tell people a lot of times I don't do Twitter. Jesus wouldn't even have made it on Twitter. He only had 12 followers.
Royce. Zing!
So,
surprised it took us that long to get a zinger.
Right. Well, we were just talking stories. I also came up with my new adage for 2021. If you can't say something nice, at least have the decency to be vague.
Oh, Royce. You only say that.
So what do we got? What else you got? You got what we got for nationals this year? St. Louis, right?
St. Louis, baby. Yeah, St. Louis, and then State College for the Olympic trials, April 5th or 9th, early April. And then we got the Olympics and the World Championships. It should be a jam-packed year. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Right on. Well, if I try to get down there, you're probably not going to have anybody live for the January 9th thing, though, right?
No fans. It's like it's literally a room that's big enough for the mat and a few tables. So
right on.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to join us today. All laid up from Lisbon in town.
Lisbon, Iowa. Population hasn't changed in 50 years. is every time a girl gets pregnant, a guy leaves town.
Now he's on a roll. Now he's on a roll. This one may never stop. Oh, right.
I'm gonna get a call
Man.
from our mayor. I can see his house from here. I swear to God. I'm gonna get a call.
Yeah, maybe a text.
Right.
Cool, man. You got any parting words for us? You can check this documentary out on
so you got not to get. I don't want to get any more wordy than I have. But I just if you're a young kid watching this, I remember when I was training. One time I always prided myself being the last one out of the room or whatnot. And I remember Gable was just starting his workout. Gable would always start his workout at the end of our practices. And I ran like three extra stairs. And I did a bunch of stuff like parallel dips. And I was visibly 15 minutes later than everybody. I was going to walk off, and Gable goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to go shower." He said, "Why don't you do some ropes?" And I said, "Gable, I tried to explain to him what I did." And he goes, "Royce, you can always do more." I'll never forget that. I always want to tell young kids that because they think they work so hard. And maybe some of them do. I don't know. But I just got to go by what I know.
You can always do more.
So, Feliz Navidad.
Merry Christmas.
Feliz Navidad.
And have a happy New Year. Royce, appreciate it. Take care.
All right, man. Later.
Yep. All right. I tell you, David, a character is always a little bit more laid up than typical, but he just had both his knees replaced. But just hearing these stories, when Schwab was on yesterday, like, it just gets me more and more excited for this film, and just like taking a deeper and deeper look at Gable, and just makes my thirst for what he was like as a coach continue to increase.
Yeah, I mean, that line that Royce said a couple times, he brought his own weather. That's something I've never heard before, and it makes a ton of sense. Even just watching him coach, like, that's one of the things about this film as we've watched it is like you feel like this intensity, and sometimes it doesn't even make 100% sense why you're feeling it, but he had the ability to crank things up. It was pretty impressive, and I think people are going to get a lot out of this film. Yeah,
I know I certainly did. And of course, you can check it out December 30th. It's coming to be on the site. So appreciate everybody for tuning in today. For David, Mark, and for Tyler, same thing. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.